In between the times in my life, before I was an objectivist and after I was a libertarian, I took my first step into general philosophy. What propelled me into going beyond the surface level anarcho-capitalist debates about the non-aggression principle and the economic calculation problem was going through those times in a man's life where something of great loss happened. What is a man to do? How shall I react to this, and how shall I act going forward? Of course, I am a product of my time, a young man who has been a participating member of humanity's first of its kind generational experiment, that being the first generation to grow up on the internet from birth. Because of forces and powers beyond the concerns of this video, the state of my life and the current fad of the internet created the perfect circumstances for me to fall into internet stoicism. Now, I am no longer a Stoic myself, but Stoicism played a vital role for me in developing my philosophy, and I still refer back to parts of Stoicism that I agree with to this day. There is one quote in particular from the Meditations by Marcus Aurelius that I think encapsulated both the good and the bad of Stoicism. The good in this quote has been and still is a constant leitmotif in my philosophy. Human life, duration, momentary, nature, changeable, perception, dim, condition of body, decaying, soul, spinning around, fortune, unpredictable, lasting fame, uncertain. Sum up, the body and its parts are river, the soul a dream and mist. Life is warfare and a journey far from home. Lasting reputation is oblivion. Then what can guide us? Only philosophy, which means making sure that the power within stays safe and free from assault, superior to pleasure and pain, doing nothing randomly or dishonestly and with imposture, not dependent on anyone else's doing something or not doing it, and making sure that it accepts what happens and what it is dealt as coming from the same place it came from, and above all, that it accepts death in a cheerful spirit as nothing but the dissolution of the elements from which each living thing is composed. If it doesn't hurt the individual elements to change continually into one another, why are people afraid of all of them changing and separating? It's a natural thing, and nothing natural is evil. Let's break this down. Marcus has always had this way of expressing human life as this fragile and impotent thing. I think the part that I agree with is how fragile it really is, but the part I disagree with is the aesthetic of doom or malevolence. Notice how Marcus describes the soul and the body as a river, the soul a dream and mist. It really concretizes the human condition as an ever-changing existent. The flow of human emotions, both of the moment to moment and of the long-term mood of life, the shifting values and beliefs and doubts, the aging of the body, its growth, decline, and impacts of life's choices, like craters on the moon. Me personally, this passage reminds me a lot about my own thoughts. One's thoughts are like a feedback loop between two microphones. It never makes full sense until expressed out loud. Do you ever express a thought that makes sense in your head, but did not make sense when you expressed it? Our thoughts are like liquid, and holding a thought is about as hard as cupping water with our hands. They are often vague and of a formless fog, and thoughts run past you like a race car. They pass by you in a shapeless blur, gone as fast as they came. And then they show up again, and around do they spin along the racetracks of your mind. And you have to catch them as if you were catching a fly with chopsticks. Only then, when you have it in your grasp, and you better act fast because soon you will lose your grip on it, can you then write your thoughts down. Like a snapshot, you etch the shadow of your thoughts on paper or screen, and only then can you see yourself clearly. But is it really clear? What you have etched is only an imitation of the form lodged inside your head. Then again, was it ever a form? It was more formless than formful, and perhaps the imitation gave your thoughts identity, a nature. While his idea that the soul is a mist or a dream is very insightful, there is a dark undertone to Marcus' expression here. The lack of volition implied here is no accident. The Stoic philosophy holds determinism in its foundation, and therefore the Stoic believes that his role in this universe is futile. Life, to Marcus, is to be a helpless driftwood in the river's currents, subjugated to whatever intensity the rapids are at the moment. Now, if you are interested in my argument against determinism and for metaphysical libertarianism, or in other words, free will, click the link above in the top right corner to watch my video on free will. To say life is warfare and a journey far from home is too intrinsicistic for my taste. It gives life a sense of burden as opposed to a sense of motivation and a willingness to soak in and enjoy. It gives a sense of finality instead of open-endedness of the possibilities for a variety of experiences in life. And most of all, yet again implies determinism, a lack of agency to change for the better. For a philosophy that likes to teach us of the virtue of focusing on what is within our control and to not focus on what is not within our control, it sure does like to remind us a lot about that nothing is within our control. This right here is the main good and bad of Stoicism. It simultaneously teaches us the valuable lesson of the dichotomy of control and undercuts that lesson by destroying the dichotomy with determinism, that we don't have free will, that we don't have free agency. I think back to lyricist and drummer Neil Peart from the band Rush when I think of an objectivist twist on the dichotomy of control. Naturally, since Neil was inspired by the works of Ayn Rand, the founder of objectivism, a twist in which we sublimate determinism with metaphysical libertarianism in order to not undercut the useful dichotomy. I quote, "Always hopeful yet discontent, he knows changes aren't permanent, but change is." Remember when I mentioned about that leitmotif? Here it is. Then what can guide us? Only philosophy. Philosophy is that study of which is most fundamental. It's the first question and answer. Philosophy is that relationship between you and the sea-soaked sand in between your toes, the smell of breaking fresh bread and the taste of that bread's warmth strands of its soft meat. It's the sound of music reminding you what you are and what is the nature of you and your place here. It's the sight of towering red giants that have been there much longer than you have been, and it's the grasp from all of your senses hitting the mind's wall of spirit and neurons that the bin has been here much, much longer than both you and the redwood trees. It is the practice of excellence, of good habit and virtue. In a decaying body, a hostile world, forces outside of our control, and oblivion waiting for us after death, what is a man to do? Making sure that it accepts what happens and what it is dealt as coming from the same place it came from. What a beautiful message Marcus left behind. What a realistic view of the world. How incredible it feels to be like an ant who's about to fight a giant monster. Like a Dark Souls boss or a Shadow of the Colossus boss. At least that's my interpretation. Some people say that money is the root of all evil. That belief illustrates the philosophy that the good and evil is within the object. Or like how people say guns kill people. But the money is not at fault, nor is the firearm. Those objects by themselves have no will of their own. It is us who cause murder. It is us who cause exploitation and expropriation of others. It is us who defend the innocent with firearms or who provide a value to the economy and improve the lives of others. These things that happen to us, the things outside of our control, are the passing storms of life. The storm is not evil. It is not at fault. It has no will. It is just an object. We accept it as it is because it is what it is. And to not accept it is to not accept. What the fuck did I just write? And to not accept what it is to not accept what it is. Was I high when I wrote this? Jesus Christ. I'm just going to move on. Of course, it is cheesy to say, but it's too damn true not to express the saying, "it is what it is." This principle is even true for death. Marcus puts death into a very persuasive perspective. If change is a fact of reality, and good philosophy tells us to accept the facts of reality, then we must accept death. It's a natural thing, and nothing natural is evil, just like money or firearms. Now, the Stoics make the mistake of taking the lesson of "it is what it is" too far. They then take it further to view life with apathy, to view life with indifference. It is the death of our values to assume apathy, or lack of care or interest in life. To accept what is as it is not to say to remove value judgment from acceptance. Just like how one can accept one is overweight and recognize change for the better is needed, but this does not mean one should not value a healthy weight. Thank you for indulging with me about my nuanced and deep relationship with Stoicism. This is only a tip of the iceberg of how I feel about Stoicism as an ex-Stoic, now objectivist. Subscribe if you like this kind of content. Comment what you think about Stoicism, what is good and bad about it. If you agree with what I say, if you don't agree, just let's have a conversation. Go support me on Coffee if you want me to. My Discord link is down below. And you know what? You guys have a really good day.